Start? Welcome back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of our convention. We hope you had a good lunch and are ready for our next 4 speakers. All right, let's get started. The next talk will be given by Mr. Ricardo Valderrama Bastilla, who is a professor at the Universidad de Talca and director of the English teaching programs at the Faculty of Education Sciences at the same university. He studied English, German, and Spanish translation at the Universidad de Concepción, and later pursued English pedagogy at Universidad Andrés Bello. He holds a master's degree in applied linguistics from Universidad Católica de la Santísima Concepción and is currently pursuing a PhD in language and literature, literature didactics at Universidad de Barcelona, Spain. He has worked in different universities and technical education centers in Chile. His area of interest lies in the use of technology for teaching and learning English as a foreign language. He will present immersive and non-immersive virtual reality in EFL oral interactions, an exploratory study on foreign language anxiety. Let's give him a warm welcome, please.
Hello, hola. Hi. I know that this time is hard because after lunch everything is harder, like, yes? Good. First, let's talk about expectations, guys. This is a PhD proposal, so I don't have any results yet. And actually, this is the first time that I'm presenting this outside Universidad de Barcelona, Spain. So what I'm expecting at the end is that your questions can help me to improve this project. Okay? Good? So as you can see, the name is Immersive and Non-Immersive Virtual Reality and EFL Oral Interactions. Probably you have seen this before. You have had a device to explore virtual reality. If not, let's talk about it. The structure of this presentation, first I'm going to talk about how this idea was born. Yes, when was it born? Then I'm going to explain a little bit about immersive and non-immersive virtual reality. I'm going to talk about foreign language anxiety, that as you know as teachers, this is a key component of language teaching, right? And then I'm going to tell you my proposal, yes? And I really expect to have those questions at the end, okay? So when was this born? Let's talk about 2 years ago, because we suffered that. Do you remember online classes? English teachers, do you remember those black boxes? That we had a lot of students that were in our class, but they were not in our class at the same time? Yes? And actually, I asked the students at the end, you know, this is an English class, you are supposed to participate, interact with me, talk, and they didn't want to. When I asked them why, they say, I feel anxious. I don't want to participate. I'm going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to laugh at me. So anxiety was there, right? And then I remember that I was thinking, how can I help my students to practice English, to interact without being anxious? I wish I had a machine to practice at home with nobody else watching, interacting without interacting. And then I saw my kid, he's 7 years old, playing Minecraft. And I said, maybe virtual reality is the way. Yes? So what is this VR? Yes? Have you ever played Minecraft? Never? Really? Yes? Minecraft is VR. Roblox. Yes? So let's say that virtual reality, just to explain it, is a virtual world created by a computer. It's a 3D world, right? And we are going to learn that that could be like in front of a screen or immersed using HMD. That is called head-mounted device. Yes? And although this has been for many years in different fields, such as medicine, engineering, it is still an emerging topic in education, and especially in language learning. It has been used in sciences to explain, for example, how a cell is made. It has been it has been used to explain the water cycle. But in language learning, it has not really been used yet, okay? And also, this is mine. Let's say that this can be used, BR can be used to actually have the student practicing with someone that is not there and feel in something that is called presence. What is that? Sometimes when you're using a helmet, HMD device, you forget that you're using a helmet. I don't know if you have seen those videos of people wearing Oculus, for example, and they feel afraid because they are in this roller coaster. That is presence. They sometimes forget that they are with a machine. Yes? That is what we want to accomplish. And believe it or not, this has been proved, and this is really recent. If you see the studies, they're from 2020, last year, and this is completely new. It was the hot topic 2 years ago before ChatGPT, yes, and then became the second. But these guys surveyed 124 students that use virtual reality, and they said 22.7 of them believed that speaking was the ability, the skill that improved the most. And teachers were also asked, and they said they perceived that oral and speaking activities were the ones that students could practice the most. So something is telling us that this is maybe the way. And we have two types of virtual reality. The first one is called immersive because actually you need immersion. And it is used with head-mounted device, so you in a minute forget that you are sitting in a classroom, but you can be in Paris, you can be in a restaurant in Europe, you can be anywhere, right? And non-immersive, that is also called as DVR because of the desktop virtual reality, is also interacting with a platform that it could be in a flat screen in front of a computer, of a laptop. Example, Minecraft. Okay? Good. And we also talk about foreign language anxiety. Yes? Have you ever heard of it? Yes? Yes. Foreign language and anxiety, according to Horwitz, he was a couple, that worked in 1986. They worked really hard with foreign language anxiety because they said this is one of the main barriers for English learning, for language learning in general. If, as Krashen said, if a student feels stressed, if a student feels anxious, probably he's not going to learn because the affective filter is going to be really high. So the big question here, what I'm trying to solve is this: to analyze the impact of immersive and non-immersive virtual reality on foreign language anxiety in the development of oral interaction skills in Chilean EFL students. Okay? That is what I want to achieve. And I have two questions to answer that objective. The first one has to do with the use. How does the use of immersive and non-immersive virtual reality impact on foreign language anxiety levels in EFL students? How am I going to measure anxiety? That is the next step that I'm going to show you. And the other, what are the perceptions of these students in terms of IVR and NIVR? Yes, does it really help to improve my English? Does it really work? Using VR, can I decrease the levels of anxiety that I'm feeling? That is the next question. Okay, so this research, my proposal is this is going to be a mixed method experimental approach. Yes, according to Cresswell and Cresswell. Quantitative, because I'm going to be using data such as anxiety levels with indicators such as an anxiometer that is going to be an 11-point ansiometer where you're going to describe if you are less anxious and super hyper anxious. Okay? We have the pulse and blood pressure that is also going to be measured while you're experiencing these experiments, and pronunciation accuracy. How is that going to be measured? I am going to show you what software we're going to use and how it works. And you're going to see that we have some kind of wheel with time passing by, and you have a specific time to answer the task. And qualitative, because I'm going to be using perceptions of the participants in a semi-structured interview at the end of the sessions. Okay? The participants, in this case, we're going to use only 10 EFL students, and they are going to be from our program at Universidad Talca, that we have párvulos, básica, and media, sorry for the Spanish, that they need to have C1 level at the end of their programs, okay? But in this case, we're going to use only B1 and B2 students, like intermediate level, and to do so, we are going to filter them using an Oxford line placement test. This has already been done. Okay? They are not 17 because I found out that one of my participants' birthday was yesterday, so 18 to 29 years old, but they must not have eye-related problems because they're going to be wearing this HMD or diagnosed anxiety disorders. Okay? And we are going to separate that group into two smaller groups, HAPS and LAPS, high anxiety and low anxiety. How are we going to divide them? Horowitz in 1986 made a test that it was called FLACS, that my teachers in Spain like to call it FLACAS, and that is a foreign language anxiety classroom scale. That's 33 different statements that students need to say if they agree, strongly agree, or strongly disagree with the statement. It's a Likert scale. Okay? And also, we're going to make a medical profile of each student. So we're basically going to see blood pressure, pulse for a week to establish the parameters, right? Then, have you ever heard of Immerse Me? I'm going to explain it later, but Immerse Me is the software that I'm going to use to immerse our students in real context conversations, okay? And each group, remember, LAPS and HAPS will participate in these experiments, and they're gonna have 7 sessions of Immerse Me in full immersion and 7 sessions in non-immersion, so in front of a flat screen, okay? In immersion, they are going to have this 11-point Likert scale ansiometer where they have to say if they're too anxious or no anxious at all. And also I'm going to be monitoring the heart rate and blood pressure of the student to see if they're anxious or not with medical indicators. Yes? And the speed of the task completion also is going to be measured. I'm going to show you how. And this is important. The groups will alternate. Like 1 week they're going to be with immersive, but the next week non-immersive. Okay? Until we complete all of the sessions. Then, well, Immerse Me, it's a platform that you can actually log in, immerseme.co, but you need to pay for it. It's a platform where you can learn different languages. You can learn English, Russian, Polish, Spanish, yes, and you have videos in 360. You are in front of a native speaker, and once he asks you a question, you have different options on the screen, and you have to read one of those options. According to what you read, you're going to be taken to another part of the conversation. So this is like a chatbot, but in video. Yes? Let me show it to you. Here I have one of my students in both environments. The first one is, this is non-immersive, where she's in front of a screen, and here we have the video, and then she's using an Oculus Quest 2, yes, Meta Oculus Quest, and this is what she's seeing right now.
Oh, I don't know them. Where are they from?
Okay, and as you can see, you have options there that you have to read. This is the wheel that is moving, and that's the time you have to complete the answer, but you have full control, like you're sitting in a room with a native speaker. Yes? Of course, there are going to be some things that are going to trigger anxiety, like if you say one of the sentences and you say, for example, they are American, but you don't sound good, probably the wheel is going to continue moving. Yes? So after all of these sessions comes a semi-structured interview. And sorry, can I use Spanish, right? Is it okay if I use Spanish? Yes? Okay, because the questions that I'm going to ask are going to be in Spanish, porque no queremos que efectivamente el inglés sea un factor que provoque más ansiedad. Entonces queremos que el estudiante esté en un ambiente donde se sienta seguro. Okay? So we have 4 questions that probably are going to expand, because that's the reason it's a semi-structured interview. So the first one is like, ¿crees que el uso de la realidad virtual puede mejorar tu propio aprendizaje del inglés como lengua extranjera? ¿Y por qué? Yeah. It can be that the student says, no, I don't think so. Probably it's going to be better if I'm just with a native speaker in a real, in-person interaction. Or maybe not. ¿Crees que la experiencia del uso de la realidad virtual inmersiva es muy diferente a la no inmersiva? Okay, to establish differences. Okay, maybe they're going to say it's the same. I felt a little bit more anxious with this 360 environment, maybe not. And the last 2 questions, like, ¿hubo momentos en que se sintió ansioso o estresado con el uso de la realidad virtual e interacción oral en inglés? ¿O consideras fácil o difícil el uso de la realidad virtual para el aprendizaje del inglés? They have also a theory behind. There is something that is called TAM, Technology Acceptance Model. So in order that a student can say, yes, this is really helpful for me, I'm going to learn with this tool, 2 conditions need to be in order. The first one, the student needs to feel that this is useful. If he says this is not useful, he's not going to use it. And the other is that it has to be easy to use. If it's not easy to use, the student will not use it either. Okay, so the 2 conditions at the same time make that the student wants to use this tool. Okay? So what I'm going to do with the information, I'm going to use SPC, so you know that, probably. Yes, to analyze the correlation between anxiety levels, expressing indicators of anxiometer, blood pressure and pulse, and speed of completion of the speaking task, accuracy in both environments, for both groups, HAPS and LAPS in IVR and NIVR. And also this course analysis will be used as a mechanism to observe the perceptions of the participants towards the use of both conditions, both groups. Okay? So this is the plan that I have so far. Yes. Going to my plan again and read it all over again has raised many questions again, but I understand that this is how the proposal works. Okay? So that's it. And now I really would like to know if you have comments or questions about it. Thank you very much, by the way. Both are helpful. Questions and comments.
Hello, my name is Antonieta. I'm a teacher of the DFG here in the university. And I think this is quite interesting. It really calls my attention. I'm not sure if you mentioned that because I was trying to take in notes about what you were saying.
And I speak too fast.
Yeah, sometimes. But you mentioned the immersive and non-immersive virtual reality, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you show us this Immerse Me software. When you mean the non-immersive way of using this is like without the glasses,
yes,
or this is
without
special?
the helmet,
Okay, good.
yes.
Okay, so one of the questions that I was thinking of is that you're talking about anxious levels, and that you're going to measure that using this anxiometer and everything, the blood pressure and the
Pulse.
heartbeat, yeah.
Mhm.
But you are going to talk with the students as well.
Mhm.
But sometimes, and just a comment or a question, sometimes students or people in general are not aware of their emotions.
Mhm.
So are you going to give them like a certain list of, or like a checklist for them to identify how they're anxious they are? Because I can give this like a scale to say from 1 to 10 how anxious you are,
Mhm.
but I'm sure, and I have seen in my students that they don't know how anxiety feels.
Yes.
So that was one of the questions.
Yes. Well, actually, that is the reason with anxiety we have different indicators. The first one, the anxiometer, is just the perception. Maybe the student is anxious, maybe he's not, but he's going to say it with this scale, 11-point scale. But also the heartbeat and the blood pressure are going to be like, okay, he's feeling anxious because his blood pressure is high or the pulse is really fast.
Yeah, I see your point, but what I don't know, I wasn't that clear, but are they going to have like a talk related to what anxiety is? Or maybe you can consider that, because maybe we can ask here, what is anxiety for you? And without knowing like the specific concept, maybe we have all different experiences and ideas of what anxiety is. So maybe before doing this scale, maybe unify the concept. Yeah.
Yes. It could be in the first talk, because I need to, be in a meeting with all the students and I can explain, or maybe they can explain what anxiety is, and we can come up with just one definition.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice
I
comment.
wish we could see the results when you finish this.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting.
Okay, I don't really know how to talk with a mic, but first of all, I believe it was a very good presentation. I really understood everything. And I have one question or comment related to why did you choose Immerse Me and not another source of video game? Or because I believe that depending on the video game, you can have different levels of anxiety, meaning that if you're playing like your son was playing Minecraft, and when you are doing something that is fun, maybe that reduces the level of anxiety that people have when they are talking with foreigners. So why did you choose Immerse Me instead of another type of video game like virtual? I forgot the name, but the virtual reality chat that is very famous and all that.
Yes. There is one actually that is called Second Life.
Oh,
Second Life also is a platform where you can interact with more people, but I really wanted to have like the control of what they were going to talk about, and to have for the student like prompts, okay, what I'm going to say, so that is not a factor that is going to be triggering anxiety. That is the reason I chose Immerse Me. Yes.
Oh, I understand. Since it has some options.
It has options on the screen.
Yeah, that's really useful. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Probably you said it or I missed it. I was wondering one example of that questionnaire about anxiety. If you could give us an example of how the questions are addressed, as to, that's related to what Antonieta was saying. What kind of questions, give you the perception they have about anxiety? If you could come up with an example of that questionnaire.
I remember one from the Spanish version, the Horowitz scale. Once said, for example, cuando estoy en la sala de clases, aunque sé la respuesta, no quiero responder. Aunque yo conozca cuál es la respuesta, no quiero responder. O tengo miedo que me hagan una pregunta y no sepa responderla. Those are like the type of questions. So you have to say if you strongly agree with that statement or if you strongly disagree.
That's the Likert 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Hello. It's a really very interesting presentation. I have so many questions. First of all, you mentioned that your participants are going to be from the university you're working at, right? So I guess they kind of know what you're working on. So how are you going to avoid bias from them wanting to use?
Yes, because I am not going to be in charge of the experiment itself. I have an assistant, and she has a protocol. She needs to follow the protocol, but I'm not going to be in the classroom or in the office with her.
Okay, so but they are most likely probably going to understand or even guess what the idea of this experiment is. So how are you going to avoid them wanting you to get the results you are expecting? And also, what are your expected results and what would be the implications of it?
Yes, nice question. The first one is that my students do not know about this yet. That's the reason I start to saying this is the first time that this is socialized. They don't know. And I hope that they're not watching because they're not supposed to know. Okay? And yeah, that is a sweater. And the second has to do with if we found out that virtual reality actually causes that students feel less stressed, maybe this is something that we could implement in schools. And if we found out, actually, if we find out that students using non-immersive and immersive feel the same, there is, using immersive virtual reality is 100 times more expensive than non-virtual reality. So maybe if we find out that both are the same, exactly the same, this is something that we could implement in schools. Yes? Or maybe not, maybe they're too expensive for it. And yes, the results, well, I said a little bit before, but what I expect is that those students that present higher levels of anxiety, first, they're going to spend more time completing the task. But with time, I believe that they are going to feel more confident to speak, as no one is going to be judging them. So probably, this is going to help them to reduce the levels of anxiety. But I insist, the reason this is an exploratory study is because there's no evidence or no research before studying the use of virtual reality on anxiety. So I'm just making assumptions.
And just one tiny question. You said that time might be anxiety triggering, right?
Yes.
What happens after the time, just the countdown?
The video stops. Like, you need to, let me go back. No. Let me go back to the video. So you have this video, right? And here you have time. If the time is over, the video is going to pause. And you will have to press again that button to continue. But just watching this like wheel going completely red and seeing that the time is running out, probably is going to trigger anxiety because you want to answer.
But it's not punishing.
No, it's not punishing. The video is going to stop and you will have to do another action. So it's going to lose a little bit of fluency because the video is going to stop.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Hi, my name is Francisco. Really good presentation, really interesting topic. I'm a student here. So I have just a comment about blood pressure. I am aware that there is a resting blood pressure, for example, the one that you usually have when in a place where you feel comfortable, for example, in your house. So I don't really know about medical knowledge. I don't have a lot of medical knowledge, but maybe it would be nice if you could kind of test the blood pressure of your subjects before being exposed to the experiment itself, because maybe that just being in an office and having the immersive or non-immersive exam getting taken off might trigger a rise in their blood pressure. So, but I really don't know a lot about medical things, you know. But that's just a comment. Maybe you should.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That is the reason we're making first a medical profile under the same conditions. Like the student is going to be for a week at the same time having this blood pressure test. And also we're rethinking on the protocol. And we want to add one more question, a simple question, but can tell you a lot. How was your day? Because probably if you are coming from a classroom where you had an argument with a classmate, or maybe you broke up with your girlfriend, boyfriend, and you go there, probably the levels are going to be different. So we need to rethink that. We thought about it. We need to rethink about that medical condition that can be triggered by something else. Yes, thank you.
That's really good.
Sorry? Yes, you have to pay, but I have a demo account. I have a demo account because I talked to them. I told them that I was doing this research, and they gave me a demo account. But if you talk to them, this is not a streaming, right? If you talk to them and you promise that you're going to make videos in Spanish with the same equipment, they can give you free access to. Yes? And it's really interesting because in this case we have just the student there in a room, like it could be a living room. But you also have other contexts where you are in a restaurant. And you have people around you, you have the waiter, the waitress that is coming to your table, or maybe you're on the street and someone is asking for directions. So after a while, you forget that you're wearing glasses. I don't know if it happens the same with the NIVR, because you're always in front of a screen. Although you have the power to control, to move the mouse and to see around, it's not the same that just moving your head and seeing the context.
Okay, here.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. I find it very interesting, and I have another question related to the same topic many of these people have talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about testing your students during a week, maybe aleatory, maybe randomly, I don't know, in order to know the blood pressure and the level of anxiety during the different times of the day, and then having a record, like a kind of a medical record, maybe with help of someone who has the knowledge to establish some parameters, and maybe after that, put them into a context which is also always, I think, a little bit anxious. And maybe after those records, maybe you can have an idea of how the levels rise or not, depending on the situations. Maybe for some of them are going to be, I don't know, pleased by being immersed in that situation or not. I don't know.
Okay, I'll take it into consideration. In the beginning, I thought of a test that maybe you can help me with the name. I should know it because tengo presión alta. But there is a test where you are no, it's not that name. But you are monitored like during the whole day. Holter test, that's the one. Yes, so we thought about it, but it's too expensive. It's too expensive for all the participants. But maybe I'm going to try 3 times the same day. It could be an option. Yes. Yes. I bought the monitor and I have the assistant, so I can ask her to monitor 3 times a day. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for such enlightening presentation. I have a question regarding the character itself. Is it created out of artificial intelligence, or was it? It's a human. I mean,
good question. This is really similar to a chatbot. Do you know the chatbots?
Yeah.
When you go to websites like Farabella, Ripley, you have a chatbot at the end that says, necesitas algo, you can chat and you get answers. This is really similar. Like, this is a real person, but that person recorded like 300 times this video with different options.
All right.
Yes.
And how is interaction? Because I'm thinking, does this character show some feelings, emotions? Does he move while interacting, or does he just stay static when interacting?
It depends on the video. For example, if you are in the restaurant, you're going to have people around moving, and the waiter is going to move and walk and approach and get farther. Yes? And, well, he shows no emotions, but I believe it's not because of the video was supposed to be like that. He only doesn't show emotions, okay? And just to explain how it works, let me see if I can put the video again. Like here and there. Okay.
Oh, I don't know them. Where are they from?
Okay, and I have options there. I have 3 different options. And if I say they are American, then he's going to show me a new question and 3 more options. So this is just like a chatbot, because depending on the answer that I give, I'm going to be taken to another question. See?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time and for the comments you made. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Ricardo. Well, this is such an interesting topic, right? Because we have to deal with anxiety with different situations, especially when we have to assess speaking tests, right? And all of us know about different situations that we have to support students, right? When we have to support them. Now we have, okay. We have a presentation which has 2 speakers, and they are going to be in a hybrid presentation, right? Both of them are from Universidad Austral from Valdivia, so they couldn't be here today. That's why we are going to see them. Felipe and Constanza, hello, are you there?
Hello, everybody. I can hear you loud and clear. Greetings from Valdivia.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us.
Great, now we can see you.
Yes.
So the audience, can you see the audience?
Perfect.
Yes,
Fantastic.
we can see them all. Good to see you.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Caro.
Perfect.
Good to see you again.
It's good to see you. Okay, so please let me introduce you. Constanza Castillo Cisternas is a Bachelor of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor of Communication in English Language and Bachelor of Education from both from Universidad Austral. She has a master's degree in teaching for higher education from the Andrés Bello University and more than 8 years of experience in higher education in undergraduate and postgraduate programs. Since 2014, she has been a responsible and collaborating teacher in different subjects, specifically in the creation of English courses for postgraduate programs at the Faculty of Sciences, extension courses for the Valdivian community, and the coordination for the bachelor program in humanities from the Faculty of Philosophy and Humanities, as well as micro-curricular innovations of English courses for the Faculty of Architecture and Arts. So please, let me introduce Felipe. Felipe Martinez Corona is an English teacher with a master's degree in communication and over 12 years of experience teaching at the university level in undergraduate and graduate programs. He specializes in designing and implementing specific English language programs, particularly in the areas of geosciences and social communication. Additionally, Felipe is dedicated to promoting the English language within the community through the creation of an English club and the implementation of cultural exchange programs at the university level. So please, let's give them a warm welcome.
Thank you very much for that presentation and introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, can you see our screen? Yes? Okay, good. So thank you again. Good afternoon, everyone. We are very pleased to be here. My name, as Carolina said, is Constanza Castillo. And together with my colleague, Felipe Martinez, we are going to talk about our teaching experience with a Flipgrid platform. Our presentation is called Unleashing Students' Voices, using Flipgrid to promote speaking confidence and fluency in university-level English courses. So the purpose of this presentation is actually to present the implementation of Flipgrid as a video-based tool capable of providing the necessary settings for students to have a richer and more, let's say, a complete learning experience when using English orally. Okay, so our presentation is divided into different parts. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about English and the importance of English proficiency nowadays as an introductory part of the talk. Then we're going to talk about also the challenges of promoting speaking confidence and fluency at this level and at university, in this case in UH. Then I'm going to explain, and we are going to explain how to use Flipgrid, and we're going to share with you 3 different samples and experiences at university related to the same topic. Then, so as to finish with some perceptions of students on the tool and some further research directions. So let's start by talking about the importance of English proficiency for university students. It is highly recognized that in the fast-paced society we live in, English is a purposeful language capable of setting and providing opportunities for all language learners, regarding their academic settings and backgrounds.
Constanza,
So that's yes.
Did you change the PowerPoint? Because we are still watching the first slide.
I saw it changed.
Oh, let's see. Here, can you see the introduction section?
No, just the first slide. Now is introduction. Thank you, sorry.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So let's go back to the introduction. As I mentioned before, let's talk a little bit about the importance of English proficiency at university studies or courses. It is highly recognized that in this fast-paced society we live in, English is a very important tool. It is the doorway for many things, right? And it is a purposeful language capable of setting and providing opportunities for different language learners regarding their academic settings and backgrounds. So that being said, at both university and higher education settings, there has always been a deep and constant necessity of creating networks where English is the main protagonist. And it seems to be the entrance for further knowledge and also to acquire somehow more academic accomplishments. So at the same time, and as a result, I think, of the pandemic of COVID-19, over the past few years, there has been a rapid growth and, I believe, interest and necessity in teaching differently. So switching from traditional to more innovative teaching practices that are student-based and more collaboratively. So in this scenario is that teachers, we all have had to adapt ourselves and create somehow settings where students are able to somehow use technological advancements and experience language in a different way in both inside and outside the classroom in a more attractive, we think, environment.
Perfect. Thank you, Constanza. So thank you for the audience for being there. I wonder if you can see the next slide, which has a blue color on the top. If you can see it, please show me your thumbs up. So we make sure we are on the same page.
We're looking at the introduction.
Yeah, can you see a slide showing the challenges of promoting speaking?
No, not yet.
No, Felipe.
No, let me see.
Now we can see it.
Now? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. There is a
Thumbs up.
slight delay apparently in the presentation. Thank you. So thank you again for listening to us. So among the most important challenges we encounter by promoting fluency and confidence when our students have to speak in the English classroom, we find that the traditional approaches we use were, of course, registered in the literature by Brown and teaching by principles. And as you can see on the left column, the first column, you have 10 approaches or 10 different practices that I'm sure you're familiar with. So if you check from number 1 to number 5, from classroom discussions, through role-playing, through peer feedback sessions, those are pretty traditional practices. But from number 7 to number 10, we have language exchange programs or even speaking clubs or even using software for speaking practice. As our previous speaker, Ricardo, was mentioning, they are not so common apparently. So we want to innovate and tackle some of the difficulties that those traditional approaches have. And in the column in the middle, you can see that there are some common difficulties that our students report, like limited grammar or limited vocabulary, or sometimes they don't know much about pronunciation or intonation in the second language. And now more than ever, we have detected more interpersonal communication barriers due to the lack of communication and how interaction flows among teenagers. So we saw that those traditional approaches carried some limitations. So our speakers, our students were too self-conscious when speaking among each other or among the class, and they showed some nervousness. So in the light of that, we searched and found that video platforms could give us a solution for it. So that's when we got to Flipgrid, which is a video tool that tackles the affective filter, because if you use it well, it can lower the affective filter, it can promote more confidence and more fluency among our students. So that is the main goal we pursued. I don't know if you can see the Flipgrid logo. There is the next slide with the Flipgrid logo. Please tell me if you can see it there.
Not yet.
So Constanza can tell us. No?
Not
Well,
yet, Felipe.
hopefully it's coming soon. Let's see. And now?
Not yet.
All right. Meanwhile, Constanza, can you see the slide, or can you cover
Yes.
what Flipgrid is about?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can see it. I'm not sure if you are watching the slide, not yet, but well, anyhow, so yes, said, let's go for it. Let's use and innovate with technology. As Felipe just mentioned, Flipgrid, and this is more of a general description of the platform, is a video-based tool used for discussion across digital devices, right? But in a fun and engaging way that makes it somehow ideal to use in education. As a platform, it facilitates communication and promotes it. And we see it as a platform that allows us as teachers to assess students remotely while continuing with the curriculum and the scheduled lessons. We work in a place called Centro de Idiomas, where we teach English for a lot of different majors. Therefore, it is somehow complicated to skip or miss classes. So to assess students, both individually or in groups, through Flipgrid is a very beneficial thing for us in terms of time management. So some of the benefits that Flipgrid has are that it promotes confidence and a positive attitude towards language and language learning. It increases verbal fluency, and it connects students that are classmates who sometimes don't even know themselves. Yeah, it fosters autonomy and the possibility for learners to be a little bit more independent, to lower their anxiety towards the evaluation process. And it is a teaching method through meaningful settings where you can also teach culture, not only contents. So in the next slide, hopefully you can see it, we have a video, very short video, introductory slash sort of
Constanza, maybe if you stop. Now we can see the video. Yes.
Yes, great. So this is a video that is a little bit promotional, but it will give you an idea of what the platform is in case you haven't heard from it yet.
On Flipgrid in 3 easy steps. Step 1, join the discussion. Use the join link or enter the join code that was shared by your educator. Ta-da! You're in. Step 2, record a video with your response to the prompt. Use any of the Flipgrid camera tools and feel free to get creative. Explore, have fun, be yourself. Yeah, even like that. Then step 3, take a selfie and submit your video. That's it. It's that easy to complete an assignment in Flipgrid. Now watch the comments in your classmates' videos come in and the discussions take off. Let's start learning together.
Perfect. So that was the introduction of Flipgrid. I hope you could see the video or have a glimpse about at it. So now we'll show you 3 samples. The first sample is in geology class. It's a class that I lecture for some time, and we integrated Flipgrid as an assessment tool in the introductory leveling unit. That was unit 1 in my class because many students take this class in their second year of geology, and they come from, let's say it's a multi-level class because they come from different language backgrounds. So we need to make sure that they have the A1 level at some point, or they activate their English back again at university. So this is an ESP class where this first assessment is to create a video to introduce yourself. This represents 10% of the class, and the final product is a video that they submit outside of the classroom. However, we give some time for script writing and peer assessment. So I'll show you the platform and how it looks like. It looks like this. I don't know if you can see my website. Please, you show me your thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sorry, can you share the screen again? Because I'm talking to Freddie and they cannot see this. I can see it, but maybe if you can,
Okay,
maybe
let's
reshare it.
reshare for not a problem.
Okay, it's raining in Valdivia as usual. It might be because of that.
All right, all right. And
You see it now?
Can you see it now? No, you
No.
can't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Perfect, perfect. So if you see something that says CD077, we are on the same page. So this is group 1 and group 2. I've got more than 40 students, so we divided them into 2 groups. And the platform basically allows me to share the QR code or a link. So here at Universidad Austral, we use Moodle. So I paste the instructions on Moodle. This is how our Moodle looks like. It's called CVEDUC MD. They call it internally, but it's based on Moodle. So this is quiz 1, and there are the instructions that we basically tell them to choose 7 personal information questions and then answer them. For that, we give 3 lessons to prepare this video presentation. And they have some basic vocabulary provided for them, and they also know the grading criteria, which is a rubric. And then they submit their videos in the platform. So I'm going to show you one of the samples here. Of course, for this, it's important to show students where you want to get to. So I recorded myself a video of self-introduction. So the first experience was on myself. And we pasted the same instructions here. We also included a brief explanation in the same classroom. And I don't know if you can see my students' faces down there, but they can use their real face, or they can take a selfie, or they can even include some of their personal preferences, like the Naruto emoticon by Benjamin used there. So I'll show you just 10 seconds of one of our videos so you get a picture of what it looks like.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Maximiliano Zapata, but you can call me just Maxi. I am 19 years old, and well, I was born in Concepcion, though I lived pretty much all of my life here in Valdivia.
Perfect. So in that case, I can get to know Max even better because I can see him in the classroom, and now present him himself. So he could edit the video and of course add some effects in it. So that is the first sample we want to share with you. Now the next one goes to Constanza.
Yes. So hopefully you're able to see this one. Now, this is a different sort of sample because I used Flipgrid with general English course that I have in science with grad students. They all come from different backgrounds, different settings. Some of them are not even Chileans. So in this case, Flipgrid was used as an assessment tool throughout all 3 units of this course. This was not an ESP, it was general English. And it was used both as an individual and a group assessment. Yeah. So in my experience with grad students, Flipgrid was as a way to promote the interaction outside the classroom. This was a very short course that I taught for many semesters online, even when we as teachers came back to university to teach face-to-face classes in our undergraduate courses. So I only saw them once a week. So this was a great help for them to interact outside that class and to practice and provide more settings to communicate. It enhanced definitely the confidence, and it lowered their frustration when speaking English, which is something that is very complex when you deal with grad students, because at least in science, they, as you may imagine, they read a lot, They deal with a lot of papers. They are very proficient in some skills more than others, but speaking is the main difficulty that they face when they enter the program. And so the evaluations were carried out using Flipgrid, were actually quizzes, pronunciation tasks, and tests, which were all part of the total percent of this course. And it was also an A2 level proficiency course.
Perfect. And the last sample we want to share with you is a nursing class where we teach together with Constanza. That is a common practice we have at Centro de Idiomas. And here we use Flipgrid to role play. So they prepare the scripts, they prepare the settings in the classroom, but they record it outside. And as you can see in the screenshot in the slide, I don't know if you can see sample 3 and nursing. Perfect, thank you. They even put some background there because they simulate or they role play the role of a nurse and a patient, and they do that quite often. And in our opinion, this was quite successful because students responded to the platform, responded to the activity even better than our expectations. So this allowed the students to get into the role as future professionals.
Now we can see the nursing
Perfect,
example.
thank you. Perfect, perfect. And we carried out a survey just to test the effectiveness of this. So we want to share some of our students' opinions. So in terms of confidence in speaking English, some of our students say, for example, in the first quote that in geology student, I feel very comfortable. I believe that recording my response helped me feel more confident. And I realized that my pronunciation sounds quite good when I listen to myself. I was also very pleased with my results. And yes, it creates a sense of security. So it kind of matched our expectations. In terms of a graduate student, they also highlight the pronunciation practice, and the process was much more easier and enjoyable. Again, technical confidence, and they also mentioned that they had to record again and again. And for us, teachers of language, that's perfect because they can use the language and, of course, practice the drills of the language itself. So they can express themselves and add a more personal touch in English. We also asked them about the feedback and the instructor, how they perceive the feedback from peers or the instructor. Well, most of the students said that yes, it was helpful. Only one student said that it wasn't so much of a help in their case. And then whether they'll like to see more recording activities in the future. Constanza, can you help us explain more about these impressions?
Mm-hmm. In relation to this question, we asked them if they're, I mean, we aimed at knowing their interest in more of this type of activities in future classes or courses. So one of the answers was yes from one of our nursing students of this ESP course. She or he said yes because it allows me to practice better. It is educational and enjoyable, and it helps me improve my oral communication skills. However, some of them told us that this wasn't very suitable for them. One of them actually said, I prefer to keep the number of video assessments to a minimum due to the inconvenience it can cause in certain cases, especially at the end of the semester where there is a heavy academic workload from other subjects. So our nursing students were freshmen. Students, they came after, I mean, they got to university after 2 years of pandemic in high school, and they were struggling with their mental health issues. And we believe that somehow like it seemed like everything was back to normality, but they were different students, and it was a hard year for them. And we completely agree that this takes time. It has to be organized and balanced with both the reality of our students and also the reality of the context.
Perfect. So in our opinion, the general interpretation of the results is that students receive the creation of videos positively. And in the case of graduate students, they really value that they can manage time effectively because they do this outside of the classroom. However, they prepare it inside, but the final cut video recording is outside of the classroom, so they can work autonomously. And that is an asset for graduate students. And they can review and analyze the raw mistakes as many times as they need to. And also, the willingness to share their videos is very influenced by personality and maturity of students. Not all of our undergraduate students enjoy seeing themselves and the idea of other peers watching their videos. However, with graduate students, this is all the opposite, and they really like to see each other's videos, and they even comment on each other's videos in terms of implications for teaching. Well, this has to be coupled with peer evaluation. Apparently, the attitude towards technology and peer evaluation give us a plus, and the rubrics are an appropriate assessment tool if we want to inform students how we're going to evaluate this activity. And this enhances classroom communication and gives us opportunity for students to practice English outside of the classroom, which was our main goal. And creating a comfortable environment. Many of the videos were recorded in their students' homes, so of course they feel more confident in that. And of course, the use of video and creation of video developed their 21st century skills. So the teacher in this case is a facilitator rather than an active role in the classroom. Constanza, can you dig into the future research?
So as future research directions, we believe that it would be interesting to get into the future impact of technological platforms on our presentations. That is a world and something that is definitely coming. It's already here. And we believe that, and because of our experience, it would be really relevant to get into this, especially in the place where we work. Then the incorporation of a training path in exploring maybe some AI integration in our lessons. As the previous speaker said, this is something that may decrease anxiety levels, but also increase and promote other things. And to carry out students' workshops, feedback as a tool to improve the implementation of the tool, to see the good and the bad, and somehow work with them along the way so we can really have a set of activities and a curriculum that is suitable for all of them.
So that would be our personal conclusion. I think we are happy with the results, and I think we'll keep up using Flipgrid in the classroom. However, I think it does not solve all the problems, but it kind of lowers anxiety and help us to get a product that students enjoy doing, and they feel really happy when they see the final results. Okay, so those are our final references, and thank you very much for your attention. Questions and comments are more than welcome.
Yes.
Thank you,
for
this chance to share.
Thank you, Felipe and Constanza. Well, you showed us a very good tool that will help us to decrease anxiety levels, maybe, right? The same as another tool as Ricardo presented. So, well, all of us know that speaking is one of the skills that we need to practice, right, more. We need to develop and find different strategies, right? Because the lack of confidence, right? So thank you so much for your presentation. And let's see if we have questions from the audience. There we have a question.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you for the presentation. I have a couple of questions, actually. Maybe you can connect the two and give me the answer for this. Do you use this this tool for formative and summative assessment? For both?
Perfect. Yes, for formative and summative assessment in both cases.
Okay.
Yeah, both cases.
Okay.
I do believe that in the last course of nursing, everything was summative.
Right.
But as Felipe mentioned, students had to work in class, for example, in their scripts, and be committed to the making of before handing in a product.
Okay, right.
So that was a good way for us to assess them inside the classroom formatively before creating or sending their video, for example.
Okay. I sometimes use something similar, but using the Moodle platform that I work with, not exactly Flipgrid. I have to be honest, I'm not very familiar with the platform, but I will definitely take a look at it. And my second question is, how do you deal with the students who are, let's say, camera shy? Because I've had some students in the past who said, I don't feel very comfortable having my classmates seeing my videos, you know? How do you deal with that? Because it's something that we cannot leave out.
That's a very nice question. At least in the case of geology, I usually share some experience of graduate students we got because they usually have online interviews for the mining industry, and those interviews almost always take place online. So it's using video interview and appearing in the camera and of course communicating through video calls is something that they have to learn at some point. So we tell them, hey, this is sooner or later you have to do it because you get hired by future employees first in video calls. So with that being said, usually they take this as a challenge rather than as a threat.
Right. So
but yeah, it's something that comes up in the conversation.
Right. So this would be like step one, getting used to using these platforms.
Yeah. In my case, when dealing with grad students, yeah, I mean, I believe there is no way in the platform to, I mean, you can make, for example, your comments as a teacher. You can comment on videos privately, but I don't think that there is a way to kind of leave that camera so you can see it yourself and nobody else. So in my case with grad students, what I do is that I go over the platform, I teach them how to use it, to play with it a little bit. They sometimes find it difficult. And I had a student from Venezuela on Monday who asked me, like, what if I don't want to turn on my camera? And I was like, this is okay because this is only a formative task. They had to read something out loud.
Right.
And so I allowed it. I believe that it's important to show them the tool, then create the setting where they feel comfortable. But then I would agree with Felipe that at some point they need to take it as a challenge. So if you go step by step, I believe this can be very fun and interesting for them to, and way more engaging than just presenting things in the classroom.
Okay, right.
No more questions? Well, I think this is a very good tool to use for a video called elevator pitch. So, do you know that? Yeah, maybe you could use it to ask for a. This is just a 1-minute video where you have to present. You have to talk about yourself. You have to sell yourself in a given situation.
Can I just add something in that same idea, Carolina? Because one of my colleagues works for engineering department too, so he teaches engineering for IT professionals, and they call this they were called to this Capital Semilla. I don't know if you're familiar with that, for startup. So they created videos on Flipgrid just to do that, and of course it's part of the professional world, and many of our engineering students want to have a startup as the first step in their professional life. So they already use that, and I think you touch a very nice point, because it's something we have to address. Online video communication is part of the new real interactions, I guess. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. So please, let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Goodbye. We have to leave you. Bye.
Perfect. Have a very nice day.
Take care.
Congratulations for such a
Thank
nice
you for
event.
being here.
Thank you.
Take care, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay. So now we are going to continue with the last presentation. The following speaker comes from Los Angeles, from Universidad de Concepción. Her name is María José Cares Jeffrey. She's an English teacher from Universidad del Biobío. She holds a master's degree in education from Universidad del Biobío, a master's degree in applied linguistics from the Universidad Católica de la Santísima Concepción, a diploma in school coexistence from the Universidad Andrés Bello, and currently she teaches English pedagogy at Universidad de Concepción, and she's in her second year of her PhD in linguistics at the same university. Her research, her research interests are applied linguistics, is applied linguistics, specifically approaches to language teaching and learning and interculturality. The name of her talk is From the Communicative Approach to the Intercultural Approach in Language Teaching. So please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, sir. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. How are you? I hope you're feeling fine. Okay, as she said, my name is María José, and my interest in research is the intercultural approach in teaching and learning languages. So in this case, actually, I'm currently researching the intercultural communicative competence, which is something that is one of these conclusions, okay? So, okay, this is an interesting topic for me, an interesting topic for language teaching, not only English, but Spanish. So this is something that, I mean all languages, okay? So, first, this is a research actually it's a literature review where I started researching this topic. Is currently research here in Chile from this university. So in 2012, they started researching this in Chile according to all teaching programs, not only in language teaching programs. So according to my research line is this, according to the approach that we need to get to nowadays. In North America and in Europe, it's something that is seen from like 20 years ago, maybe, or according to migration and according to globalization. It is something new here in Chile. 5 years ago, according to the migration process and the massive wave of migrants that they have come to our country to get a new life. So they have settled here. So we have many people coming from Haiti. So we have the Haitian students in our schools learning English, learning Spanish, okay? And we have Venezuelan, Colombian, and we have Brazilian, Peruvians, and Bolivians, okay? So here we go. According to that, this is the context. So we live in the era of migration and globalization all over the world. So as I said, in North America, Mexico, the United States, and Canada have already got to this new process in learning and teaching languages. In Europe, it was born the interest was born in 2002 with the Common European Framework So in this case, this is something that here in Chile we live now. People, migrants, need to settle, need to establish new social rules, need to get to new social events or aspects coming to their lives. So in this case, this is something very important for us, teachers of languages, to know and to get to a new approach. So this is according to what we understand by cross-cultural communication or intercultural communication. These are the keywords: communicative approach, language teaching, intercultural approach, methodological considerations, and migrations. So the process of this, as I told you, this is a literature review. The step from the communicative approach in language teaching and to the intercultural approach in language teaching, and to expose the most important or the importance of language, learning a language from this new intercultural approach. So here we go. This is a process, as I told you, that changes the life of people through linguistic aspects. In this case, we have cultural identity, we have linguistic aspects coming from our own culture and the others. Otherness is something very important because we have to stand in our own shoes, and then we have to live what other people think, what other people believe, what other people feel. So this is an approach coming in linguistics, in applied linguistics. It's a new approach that comes up with the idea of emotions, affections, and the idea of teaching languages through sensibility. So according to the Council of Europe in 2001 and the Common European Framework of Reference in 2002, it all changed from here in Chile. We have to settle, or we have to set new rules in language teaching according to the Colombians, according to the Peruvians, Venezuelans, Haitians, and Bolivians. So according to this, we can see the percentages here. We can find foreigners because we have two types of different migration: the voluntary migration and the forced one. Have you ever heard of that? So people who are forced to live in another country and people who volunteering living in another country. Maybe because of a scholarship, maybe because they have new jobs, but they live in different ways with different aspects. So this is something that we as teachers of English, or you as teachers in training have to deal with nowadays in our education. So according to this, we have 1,492,522 migrant foreigners, according to the year 2021. So if we realize now we're 2023. So 2 more years, according to this. Can you imagine that here in Chile we have children, Haitian children with, or Haitian people with Chilean children? Have you ever heard about that? Yes. So this is something that we have to deal with in language teaching. But how do we do this? Okay, we must be aware of the current reality here in Chile. We have to be aware that people coming from a non-Spanish speaking country, they feel here that like they speak, for example, Haitians, they speak French or Creole, so they have 2 languages already. Coming here, they have to speak Spanish, learn Spanish, and then they have to face the reality of the English language in our classrooms. How do we deal with that being teachers? Okay, so this is one of the questions I'm going to make you afterwards. Okay, so the communicative approach. Okay, so this is the intercultural approach that Garcia sets like more than 20 years ago. And she says that we have to form teachers in training, language teachers in training, in the way that we can make them feel, make them think, that we have to face different cultures in the classroom. So this is a sort of summary of what she says about this new approach. Sorry. There. I know that maybe you have heard so much about the grammar and translation approach, the audiolingual approach, the communicative approach, and this is the new one, the intercultural approach. So we have 2 main speakers of that, who are Byram and Corbett. If you read them, they speak about this new context in language teaching from the European view and the North American view, but not within the Latin American view. So this is why I tell you that this is something new here in our country that we have to face nowadays. Okay, so the communicative competence is developed by Himes, and within that, the idea of competence, the linguistic competence developed by Chomsky was a little, in a way that he revolutionized all the idea of the linguistic competence that Chomsky had developed. So here we have the communicative competence. So within this, The idea of different approaches and paradigms is that we have the structuralism, and then we have generativism, and then we have the functionalism. And we all try to share the same psychological paradigms from psychology, which are behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. Okay? So if we realize we face this according to the communicative approach, according to the functionalism, we realize that this is something that has to do with from cognition to Kant, constructivism, who appeals to have three main characteristics, which are affective, cognitive, and ethics. Have you ever heard about ethics? Okay, so let us pay attention to this. There. This is an approach developed by Candlin like 40 years ago. And they developed this because they needed to give teaching language processes a new idea of the learning of or learning languages. So in this case, the process of interaction with the environment, the real context situation, material resources, were given in a way that teachers were only monitoring students' activities in the classroom to learn a language. Okay? Have you ever heard about this functional communication? Okay. So this is what the communicative approach gave us 40 years ago. Okay. Wait. Okay. Then the communicative approach had its own reforms, and these reforms were made because the communicative approach was in a step decreasing. So if we realize teachers' perspectives and the new needs of learning languages at that time was a little bit different from 40 years ago. So I'm talking about the year 2000. So in this case, the Common European Framework of Reference settled or established new aspects in the cultural, coming from culture. And they were that the communicative competence had 6 other competences, sub-competences within. We faced strategy, discourse, grammar, social linguistics, culture, and the pragmatics. So according to this, the new policy and planning changed all learning or teaching processes of languages. So how did they do that? Step by step in Europe and then in North America. But what happened to all over the world countries without mentioning Europe and North America? So this is something really important because in Europe and in North America, there were some aspects who couldn't be analyzed or who couldn't be defined within the classrooms. So in this case, because of that, sorry for this, there, we have the criticism of the communicative approach in language teaching. So the new scenario in language teaching changed teacher training. Here we've got many students in the teacher training process. the student's performance, material resources, native speaker, and strategies. So the communicative approach faced the idea, or set a new idea in the 80s. But they tried to change that in the 2000s. But what happened afterwards? It was that the criticism were set first in the teacher training processes, because universities needed to increase the level of proficiency in language learners. But if they did that, non-student would apply, or maybe would have applied to those programs. The other criticism was the one of the native speaker. The idea that we had, according to the communicative approach, was to create or to develop students' competences according to a native speaker, or native speaker-like. So in this case, it was a very interesting, but could we do it? So another criticism is that strategies were made. How do we teach grammar? How do we teach vocabulary? Do we use communicative strategies? So this is, or I mean, these are one of the questions, some of the questions they made according to this. So the material resources were non-communicative strategies or materials used in classrooms. And the same as the students' performance. So we needed more students speaking English, but the quality of their English was decreasing in a way that universities needed students. And according to these criticisms, is that we have the emergence of the intercultural approach in language teaching. This is something that Corbett developed like 20 years ago, and they speak of an idea of culture integrated in the classroom. Have you ever heard about culture with uppercase letters and culture with lowercase letters? Okay, so this is the idea that we have to face with. Have you ever seen in schools where they develop the cultural or intercultural day? Have you ever lived? Okay, so we dress up in a way, or we wear costumes, and people from Venezuela trying to get to or to show their traditions and food. So the idea of culture here was not the same idea of the communicative approach, integrated, because we had it. But we had it in a way that we understand culture according to traditions. But do we learn culture through everyday interaction? Sometimes we do. I mean, people who have students in their classrooms coming from Haiti, Venezuela, Colombia, and many other countries, we live with different cultures every day, and we interact with different cultures every day. So this is not the same idea of tradition. So this is an idea of, or through, that we have understand through 3 dimensions. And in this case, I want you to pay attention to this, because this is something very important for the conclusion of this literary review. The affective, the cognitive, and behavioral dimensions are the ones who have or who need research on. So this is what I'm doing. So the idea of the emergence of this intercultural approach is not only to live an intercultural day in the school, but is the idea of interacting and live our own culture and see otherness. It has to do with principles, it has to do with values, and it has to do how we interact in Spanish, in English, in French, in Polish, in every language, facing every language context, but we have to live it in a way that we can understand that we, people coming from all over the world, have to interact, not only in a communicative way, but in an intercultural way according to interaction. And this is it. This is an idea that we have according to migration and language teaching, according to the certain parameters that we have to understand according to 3 dimensions: affective, cognitive, and behavioral. Not only traditional. And I'm almost finishing. And according to the intercultural approach, do you remember what was the idea of the communicative approach, speaker-like? It was the one of the native speaker. So in this case, we need an intercultural speaker. And what does he do? He has to realize that the other exists. We have to realize that a human being, or every human beings, need and feels. In this case, all human beings need and feel. So if we understand that, we are getting to the intercultural awareness. And to get to the intercultural awareness is that we have already thought and we have already lived and experienced the 3 dimensions, through the cognitive, through the affective, and through the behavioral. That is something very much important in this new approach. The teacher's role, as you can see here, is the one that monitors, the same way as the communicative competence or the communicative approach like teacher. But in this case, the idea is that he has to exercise the new idea of the professional mediation between cultures. I know that all of us have different perspectives, different point of view, different ideas, different thoughts, different beliefs. But in this case, what we have to do is that we need to be in the middle of many cultures, not only 2. Because here in Chile, we talk about the intercultural approach in the idea of indigenous, but not according to what is the reality nowadays in our country. Okay, the methods through the task-based learning. This is something according to the material resources that were criticized all over the world in the communicative approach. So this communicative approach set the task-based learning as one of its methods. So here the intercultural approach takes this task-based learning, but in a way that we can understand functions according to orientation, organization, adaptation, which is something sometimes very much difficult, and motivation, through culture to understand otherness. And the material resources, the same as the communicative approach, through technology, through art, through many ideas and strategies that we had in the communicative approach, but according or focused on the otherness and culture as well. And finally, I wanted to get here because this is a part of my following project that I'm working on, and this is according to the intercultural element, according to what what the teacher requires is that learners have to pay attention to the respect, to respect our home culture and the other's culture. So in this idea, is very much important that teachers, educators, and pedagogues of languages have or must have notions of intercultural education in their teaching training. If I ask you, here, everywhere, have we ever heard about a course that gives us information and the steps of the development of the intercultural communication? I think that is something very far away from our own training. But in this case, finally, the ultimate goal of the intercultural approach is to get to the intercultural communicative competence. And this is the new topic I'm working on nowadays that includes the ability to understand others' culture through languages and through this three dimensions that I mentioned before: the cognitive, the affective, and the behavioral. I hope one day we can all share the same knowledge about this when learning languages or when teaching languages, because this is very important so far, because our country is living the same reality that Europe and North America lived many, many years ago. Thank you. This is it.
Thank you very much. Quite a relevant topic. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Okay.
You can help me. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
So what an interesting topic. Thanks for bringing that up. And how important to start reflecting on themes, topics like this one, and to project on a near future, having this type of training, intercultural training methods for future teachers. And beyond English teachers, perhaps we could also think about mathematics teachers, history teachers. I think it's an important topic for all teachers, for the educational system itself. I have a question though, because I think I understand the affective and behavioral dimensions that you connect with this intercultural approach, but I'm trying to think, how could the cognitive dimension be portrayed in this type of approach, if you may?
According to the affective one, is according to the emotions and feelings that we have to feel for our own culture and for the other one, for the other one's culture, okay? And according to the behavioral, I'm going to go step by step. According to the affective one, the cognitive one is that we have to be interculturally aware. If we have our mindset conscious according to what other people feel and what other people may think or their beliefs, if I am aware of that, I can understand others' culture. And finally, the behavioral has to do with interaction. Whenever we interact, we behave differently. Okay, so in that case, I have to have the other two developed already to interact with other people every day. This is the lowercase culture, not the traditional. According to understand your traditions, if you're Venezuelan, I understand your traditions, I understand your costume, I understand your food or everything you have in your own country. But here I have mine. But that is not the way the intercultural approach or the intercultural communicative competence want you to be. So this is an idea of that we have in mind, first of all, the affective, the cognitive, and then finally the behavioral. According to how you are aware of my own culture, and the others. If you're aware, if you're conscious, you can understand other people, or you can be in other people's shoes, actually. That is the idea. Yes. It's a hard process, actually. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so, hi, I wanted to ask you something as an English teaching learner.
Okay.
That I'll be a teacher someday. You said that the teacher's role, and my question is related to this, the teacher's role corresponding to this approach needs to be someone whom their social skills equals or surpass their knowledge about the language. If the cultural richness or knowledge of the teacher is higher, would it be more valuable for the emotional and learning processes of the students?
Teachers' principles?
Yes, knowledge and richness about and awareness about their surroundings.
This is something, as actually I told you, this is something very much new in our country and in our teacher training. So this is something that has to be incorporated somehow in all majors, in all programs of language teaching, I think, here in Chile. So this is something new. I'm going to tell you something a little bit about my new project, which is called Intercultural Communicative Competence. I will have the chance to tell you about this, but now I will tell you something very little, because I'm working on developing and giving a new course in teacher training according to the intercultural communicative competence. But how is it? Only reading, researching? No, my idea, I am going to make a survey in migrant, but not within the educational context. Migrants in the street, migrants in the closer regions, and according to what they think, and according to these 3 dimensions, we are going to make a correlation according to that, and we are going to set certain aspects and elements to be worked for teachers in training, or I mean language teachers in training. So if we develop that idea, is that we will have our knowledge and our own principles. When we develop that idea of the intercultural communicative competence, if we develop that idea beforehand, then we can step ahead, or we can understand and analyze and interact with people in a better way. But if we do not have the knowledge, we cannot do it. So according to the principle and values that teachers, language teachers, must have, it is something that has to be researched yet here in Chile. So this is what I'm trying to do. I don't know if I answered your question. Did I? Okay, thank you. Anyone else has a question?
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, I wanted to say that this topic is really interesting because now in our practicums, I'm in the English teaching program, I can see that there are many immigrants now as students, just children and everything. And it's really interesting because a few years ago, we didn't see that. So this is really interesting. So I really liked it. But my question is like, how, I don't know, this is the intercultural approach. How would you apply it in a classroom, for example? Because I know that the goal is like to maybe mix it up with the communicative approach.
Yeah.
But I don't know, how would you, I don't know, do a class?
Based on the intercultural approach?
Yes, it's just that, I don't know, I have this in my mind and I don't know,
Yes.
I don't have any idea of how could it be.
We can find this in Europe and we can find this in North America, as I told you, but we cannot, or we haven't found it here in our country. So this is something very hard for us because we have to get to our own reality. It's the same that happens with all policies. Policies, the laws are applied here, but we don't even live the same reality as other countries live. Sorry. But if we do this, this is what I'm working on. How to get to this approach in the language classroom. How to get to this approach, I'm talking about the Spanish and English classroom because I'm working on those two languages. How can we develop this? Because we have all the theory, but how can we plan this? How can, in our own planning, how can we get it? Is what I'm working on. So this is an idea that we have to take from real migrants, immigrants, okay, here in Chile, Haitians, Venezuelans, Colombians, Peruvians, and Bolivians, okay, according to the percentages that I've shown. But according to that, we will get their idea, and we have plus the theory, and this is the part of my project that I'm going to create, and it's a 2 year and a half process. So then I can tell you how to do it, because nowadays we have the reality in Europe, but we have the reality in other countries, but not here in our own context. But we do have the theory, okay? And according to what I told you, we do have the methods, the strategies, the teacher's role, and the material resources, and everything that has to be done in a classroom, in a language classroom. But do we have that developed in our country? No, we haven't, okay? So this is what comes, because we are almost preparing for as you said, 2 years ago, we didn't have that reality in the classroom, the social reality, different cultural backgrounds in the classroom. So now we do have. So we are starting to being prepared for that reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria Jose. Thank you, it was very interesting. Okay, so we're ending our first day of this conference. Today we have found out about collaboration and virtual reality to decrease anxiety levels when speaking. We have explored an ESP-oriented curriculum, as well as talked about promoting speaking confidence through the use of Flipgrid. And have gone from the communicative approach to the intercultural approach in language teaching. It's been very interesting and insightful. to hear about these topics, and we are ready to listen to more of these interesting things tomorrow. So thank you very much for coming. We are very grateful that you are here with us today, and we hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much. I don't have my cell phone. If you'd like to join us for a picture, we would really appreciate it.